afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the Absolute Truth Radio Show. I'm your host, Donnell Scott, and this is my co-host, Pamela Dembo, media extraordinaire. So glad that you all could join us today. Got one great topic, which I'm sure will lead into a whole lot of different things. But would you like to say hello to our guest today?
I do want to say hello. Thank you for finally making me a part of the open. Hello, everyone. So excited to be here this evening. And yeah, we do have a topic that hopefully you all will want to really be engaged in. I mean, it has everything to do with you. It has everything to do with our country and where we're going, you know, where we're headed, and, you know, yeah, what the future holds.
I do try to include you in on our conversation and welcome you, the guests, into their homes. I never try to leave you out. I apologize if I've done it in the past to her, but she's my co-host. I want her to be here. I want her to feel welcome at home with you.
I do.
So today we definitely want you all to call in at 404-474-0080. And the things we're going to talk about today is, why are so many Americans angry?
You mean just in general?
In general. I mean, I'm sure there's different reasons why they are, but I think there's a couple of things I know on my mind that I've seen. But I want to know and hear from you all. Why do you think so many people are angry? Are you angry?
Are you angry?
Right.
I want to know, are you angry?
Are you angry?
I'm not angry.
You're not angry?
Anger isn't the word.
Oh, that's not the word? Well,
no, I'm not angry.
what would you call it?
I am concerned.
Concerned? Okay.
That would be a good word.
Well, she's concerned, but I tell you what, we'll be back in a few moments, and we're going to talk about the anger that's as we see being moved across the country, and even maybe, of course, international as well. But we'll definitely hear it on a lot of things that we see, of course, with the political landscape and why people are acting a certain way on the Democratic side, on the Republican side. But again, we want to get some feedback from you. But we'll be back in a few moments with the Absolute Truth. Don't go anywhere.
Don't go anywhere.
Stay tuned.
Be right back.
Again, thank you all for joining us here on the Absolute Truth Radio Show. And again, one of the things I've been thinking about, researching, looking at over the last few days and over the last few months is there's such an anger that has arisen throughout our country. And I would like to say I think it's for, of course, several reasons. One, economically. Two, politically. Three, immigration issues. And four, our standing in the world as we know it, and where we used to be and where we are right now. First and foremost, economically. I think and believe that a lot of people are upset and angry because right now, as some of you all may know, the middle class, of course, thank you for helping me.
Hey, because I know what you're saying.
You know
I know
right?
what's swirling around in your brain.
Right. The middle class is dwindling away. Of course, almost 15 years ago, I think the average household income was about $53,000. $53,000. 15 years ago. No, I'm sorry, $57,000.
It was
15 years ago, and now it's at about $53,000 now. So, and for some people, of course, that's going in the wrong direction. And
it is going in the wrong direction.
And I would say this, 15 years ago for me, that was a good time. That was a very good time.
Yeah, for me too.
And
I have
really
been alive that long.
How old are you?
I'm old enough to have
remember that.
To remember that.
But I'm gonna tell you, 15 years ago,
I was in the working force 15 years ago.
And so was I. But I remember that during that time, everything, no matter what it was I wanted to do, how I wanted to do it, money was never an issue. I mean, if I wanted to go here, if I wanted to purchase this, if I wanted to take money and invest it here, money was never an issue. It just seemed like money was just coming out of everywhere you turn. I was able to make money, and now
The economy was strong.
right. But I can still do some of those things, but maybe not as fast and not as quick as I would like to. But I think, again, this is some of the reasons why Americans right now are so angry based on our economy and what's going on, is that we cannot generate the kind of income that we were during that time as opposed to now. I mean, they say that, of course, the job market is better. I mean, the economy is better, not the job market, but the economy is better. And with that being said, we talked about it last week about how many people actually are not even working anymore. But if the economy is good and people are not working anymore, a lot more people are not working, why is it that things look, the way they do? And are they going to stay this way?
And I know a lot of people. I was reading an article about, because I like reading stories. I like to get what actual people are saying. And so this one family was like, hey, like, I was making this amount of money, and then they say the economy is better, and but I don't feel it. And so I think a lot of people, the anger with the economy, it comes from you're saying that things are getting better, but we are not feeling it. So the numbers are saying one thing, but we can't afford certain things. We can't. Our salaries or our income is not what it used it used to be, or is less. Like you said, the jobs, the opportunities out there, they're not there, or they are less than. It's like underemployment. Yeah, it's like underemployment. I know we talked about that, of course. Last week also. So, and it's. I think it's part. The anger also comes from like you said, 15 years ago. Like we've been around for a while, and you're used to it, and what the economy used to be. How. And so now it's the comparison thing. Like. What has happened? Right. What has caused it? Why can't we get back there? And so then you look at, Washington, or you look at your leadership, and where do you go? Where do you put that anger?
Well, let me ask you this. I mean, and as you mentioned about where you put that anger, but if you look around and you don't see, like, in the past, remember, of course, in 2008 when we had the recession, you saw a lot of people who homes had gotten foreclosed on. Right. A lot of people lost their jobs. I mean, you don't necessarily see that type of atmosphere right now. You don't see that, but yet and still, people are still hurting in a very huge way. Yeah. Even though when you look out across the horizon economically, you don't see the despair that we saw during that times. And like you said, maybe some of that, has to do with how our government has basically, I like to say, hoodwinked us, and shown us certain things that are really on the outside, they look good, but underneath they're really, on the backside, they really are not. So how can someone look at the landscape and say, hey, you know what? People are still building homes. If you look here in Atlanta, Atlanta's like it's growing. Yeah. And just a couple of days ago, America Seen Reed said that there was about, I think, a couple of $1 billion that were going to be invested into the airport. Now, where's all of this money coming from? But yet and still, people are not seeing it in their homes, not seeing it on their jobs. There's not an increase in their pay or that which they bring home.
Well, I mean, I guess if you're doing, like, they're putting it, like you said before, in certain job sectors. So of course, if you're going to do like homes, or you're doing whatever they're doing at the airport, I didn't see that.
They're building actually a new concourse. They're talking about another runway. They're building a hotel. They're actually trying to take the airport and make it into a metropolis. By staging opportunity for people to actually live inside of the airport. They're building new parking decks out there. I mean, they're just going to take the airport and expand it.
So the thing is, that sounds great and good, and I'll just speak for me. That sounds great and good for me, and that will definitely generate some jobs
Right.
in those specific industries. My industry, that's not going to help me.
But you
And
you're right, and even like you said, but when jobs are generated, they have to be sustainable jobs. I mean, the work they're talking about doing at the airport, you may be talking about 3
Your
years,
work, and
4
then
years,
it'll stop.
right? Then it'll
Right,
stop.
right.
So we're talking about sustainable jobs that need to be put in place that people can continue to work, continue to build, and build their communities at the same time. And I think that's the part what I talk about, where the government has hoodwinked us, or
because the job numbers aren't going to show that.
right? No, they're going to just show created
There's
jobs. Right.
Not
But-
that they're temporary.
Part-time jobs.
They're part-time. They're like,
And I think if
whatever.
we get some more sustainable jobs like that, but again, that goes back to what you mentioned a second ago about the different industries and where we create those jobs. The Georgia market itself, I mean, of course, we're still a industry driven, market here. Right now, we do have a good foothold as far as the I would say, Hollywood show business type atmosphere industry that they're trying to create right now with the movie segment. But that in itself only holds for a certain amount of time because of the fact that those who are here, they've been brought here, or they've been given the opportunity to come here based on tax breaks. But those tax breaks don't last forever. Those tax breaks only go out about another 15, 20 years. So after that, then those movie houses will begin to move out of, the Georgia area. So again, are we creating, sustainable jobs that are going to help grow our communities? And again, if that's not done, and again, people can continue, it's cyclical. You get a job, you work that job for a little bit of time, and then all of a sudden the job goes away. Now you're back in the market again looking for jobs.
And so I think one of the other things that has happened that's different, it's like back in the day when you got a job, I know, my parents, like, they got a job. They had that job, they, like, within that company, worked their way up or whatever for 30 years
Right.
or however long you stayed there that long. And so what has happened is that's kind of not what that landscape looks like now. You don't stay at a job that long. You go in, either, the job changes or you have to, and so you have to be, I say, more in charge of even your job growth, and that can be difficult if then those jobs are not available.
But then are we talking about, people being in a position where they are considered more or less skilled or unskilled workers? Because right now, if you're not a skilled worker, it's very difficult to get a job. And if you do get a job,
It's difficult to get a job even if you're skilled.
Even if you're
no,
skilled,
it
right?
really is. Because you think about it, because so many people have been laid off who are skilled,
Right.
Educated, skilled, that it's the job markets are now flooded. So you've got just really skilled, qualified people. You're not taking anything away from any, but you can only hire one. So for 100 people that
Right.
can
That
apply for
hired.
the job, or whatever.
So what do we
choose
do?
one.
How do we change that type of culture and allow people to, again, as you mentioned, who are skilled but don't have opportunity to get these jobs? What do we do for those people who've been, working at this particular trade, this particular industry for 12, 13 years? Now all of a sudden that they are forced to change, their skill sets in order to get a job. And again, depending on where our country is going, and that's what's important, of course, as far as our leadership is concerned, where
Exactly.
they're trying to take the country. How do you create an atmosphere so those people who may feel somewhat left out, not because they're not skilled, but because they have the skill, but the jobs are just not there to match the skill sets? And again, talking about why some people are angry. Right.
That's
And
right.
I've met people who, they have the skill sets, but the jobs are just not there in order for them, as you just mentioned,
Yeah.
to get employment. And then at the same time, then that person is forced to take something just to satisfy a certain need, and then you move into an opportunity that you're overqualified for, you have more than enough skills for, it pays you less, you got to drive through Georgia traffic or any other traffic to get to work, and you're making less money. I can see why people would be angry.
Yeah, people would be angry. And then, and let's not forget that even for those people who, like you said, are skilled and have some history in the job market, here there's a younger generation that's going to come in that's probably that they're going to get them to do way more than what they're doing for less. So, I mean, you're right. I totally get people are angry. And I think over the past couple of maybe 8 years or so, people have been hopeful and they were wanting change, and they were really
Donald
looking. And we can talk about that. Right. Like, I don't believe that. I don't know if Donald could do it. I don't. Well, and the reason why I say I don't know if he can do it, because I haven't heard anything of substance from him of how he will do it.
Well,
now Bernie Sanders. Let's just talk about
right.
him. I know how he says he's going to do it.
He's got a plan.
He's got a plan. So,
Donald Trump does have a plan. Build a wall.
Oh yeah, well, no.
Build a wall. Kill the family.
And we can get into that then when we talk about immigration,
right.
because that is another reason for anger, and that kind of goes into that. But yeah, he wants to get the immigrants out so that we can get the jobs. I'm sorry, they don't have all the jobs. Like, that's just what I said. But anyway, but we can talk about that.
Well, I tell you what, we're gonna, because that segue, we're gonna roll right to that in a few seconds. So we'll be right back with the absolute truth. Joining us here again on the Absolute Truth.
We were real loud. I was like, "What? Welcome back to what? I can't hear you."
Welcome back to the Absolute Truth. We were talking a little bit about, of course, the anger in the atmosphere among Americans, and also we touched a little bit about the immigration portion of it. Yeah. And as I mentioned before, you asked what Donald Trump. What I said, Donald Trump said he will build a wall. That's his plan. Build a wall, kill all of the terrorists and their family members.
Yes.
Of course, and I think that in itself is fueling a certain amount of anger. But that the rhetoric that he's spewing out and the things that he's talking about, it's not just. It may be more or less adding fuel to the fire, but I don't think it even of itself is creating the fire. I think people are just angry in general.
No, he is the leader of the movement that was already happening.
Right.
And what he has now put like words and like a face to it.
Exactly.
To what people were feeling. Absolutely.
And now, as you mentioned before, we was talking about the immigration part of it. And why are Americans angry about the immigration? Well, first and foremost, we have more immigrants in the country nowadays than we've ever had in the past. I think 40 years ago, we only had about maybe 13 million or something like that illegal immigrants in the country. I think right now, those who are not illegal, we have like 59, almost 60 million immigrants in the country now than over 40 years ago. And a lot of people feel like the immigrants, of course, they don't mind them being here to a certain extent, but they feel like those particular persons are actually taking jobs away from Americans. And I don't actually think they're taking jobs away from Americans. I think they're doing jobs Americans don't want to do.
Well, now I don't want to do it.
You don't want, what you mean you don't want to do it?
Like, I don't want to do the jobs
that
they're doing. I'm not building no road.
Well, you ain't got to build no road, but you can go out there and work in the fields.
I can. But you said that we don't want to do. It's not that I can do it,
but
I don't want to do it. But I'm also not the one saying send them back. Bring them on.
Well, here's the thing. If you don't want to do it, right, and you let them do it, what happens is that drives down the cost because they're going to work for less. And if it drives down the cost of their work for less, it just becomes nothing but more of a trickle-down effect because they're doing it. They're going to make less. They're going to be paid less. And the things that they're looking to do with the money that they earn.
Are we talking about legal or illegal?
Legal, even legal. Right.
Okay.
It drives down the cost, and because of that, then again, that has a cascading effect on everyone, not just on them. So if the job that you would do for $25 an hour, they'll do for $10 an hour. So as a owner of a company, why should I pay you that amount of money when I can pay them less amount of money? And then Americans
And they
feel
probably gonna do a better job.
they probably gonna do a better job. But
Yeah.
Americans gonna feel like, hey, if you're gonna pay them less and it's gonna drive down my costs, that's unfair. That's unfair to me. Because now you're paying them less because you don't want to pay me what I'm worth. And then you go back to those that 10% who own a majority, of the or create the majority of the earnings in this country, who are saying, hey, that's how they're creating more money for themselves.
And I cannot be upset at that. So see, it's one of those things where you have to look at, when you come to something like that, you have to look at both sides. So it's kind of like the employer-employee.
Right.
Like when you are an employee and your employer does something and you don't like it, this and another. I always say, put yourself in their position
Right.
of managing and doing things like that. So I feel like, a lot of, when it comes to that type, business, and
Decisions that have to be
people
made.
and yeah, exactly. Like it really is important to look at both sides, because I guarantee that if it were you, you would go for the person
Sure.
that you're going to pay less because you are running a business. And the point, and,
But it
and the
puts more
reason
money
you're
in my
running
mind.
a business is to make money.
Right, and it's putting more money in your pocket.
Yeah,
But
and the thing is, really, you're running a business. You're running it. You are employing people. You know what I'm saying? And I don't think like which people.
But
employing.
just employing people and paying them a low cost doesn't always generate the kind of return that you're looking for. If you look at this in certain ways, think about the people in China. Of course, but it's a communistic, culture and society. They pay them very little. They employ pretty much everybody, but they pay them a little bit of money.
Well, but that's
No.
China, and that's a whole
Okay, I
other
know.
different whatever. We're talking about the U.S.
Well, here in the U.S., a lot of the jobs are going there because of what they're paying those people, and because of that, again, people here are not making as much or making the money.
Outsourcing is
Right, it's an issue.
is definitely,
And that's another
an
reason
issue.
why people are upset, because hey, you're sending jobs away for those who
could do them here.
right. But as
see,
you mentioned
that's-
before, now here's the question to you. As a owner, would you do that just so you can have more money in your pocket?
That's a question that the owner would have to ask.
Right, and that's
And it's funny because don't you remember when they asked? I guess it was one of the recent debates, the Republican debates. But they were asking Donald Trump, because you know how he's, like get rid of all the
Billionaire,
immigrants,
right, right.
whatever. But I think it's his one of his clothing
Right.
companies. He's outsourcing, and that was his argument. He was like, but it's cheaper labor and it's this, that, and another, and they come in and they come out and it's short. Anyway, so I thought that was funny.
And-
But that's something that you have to look
Take
at.
into
And
account,
some
right.
things are just business.
A business decision.
Business decisions,
Right.
but you have to be careful. Well, now I'm not running for office, so I don't have to worry about that. But it's but one of the things that I also wanted to say about immigration, I think even the things that Donald Trump has said about immigrants, as we were just saying before, he's just the face and the voice of this movement, and things that I feel like certain Americans have been feeling for some time. So, basically wanting. So there are a segment of Americans who feel like, their race or their class or their demographic
Right,
is decreasing.
Yeah, I mean,
then
for
others are
increasing.
and
Like
that
white males.
is threatening. Yes, I'm sorry. Okay, we'll
Just
say
say it,
white,
white
males,
males.
and that is threatening.
Their position here in this country. Oh, we have a
Uh-oh.
call on.
Somebody.
1 second here. Thank you for calling the Absolute. Oh, you had to call us back. Sorry, caller. We missed you. Try again. We're right here.
Yes, he'll try not to hit the wrong button.
Yeah, I did. I hit the wrong button that time.
So please call back. Please call back.
But you were saying about Donald Trump.
So white male. So it is threatening their American dream, and as you said,
Dream or
their-
lifestyle? Because they've already had the dream.
Well, but yeah. So like I was saying before, that dream has been taken away now because the landscape has now changed.
Right,
And so
right.
they don't have what they had before.
Mm-hmm.
So, and so some of them feel as if it's because of the immigration issue. So it's like, if you get them out, then we'll be good. We'll be able to, preserve or get back what we're just so used to having.
That's never going to happen, even if you do remove certain immigrants.
I mean, it's never going to happen
by within a certain amount of. Well, I think some of the research that I saw and some things that I've looked at. Oh, we have that caller.
We're going to try it again.
We're going to try it again. The Absolute Truth Radio Show. Thank you for calling us. Your name?
This is Rufus.
Hey, Rufus, how you feeling?
Hey, how y'all doing this evening?
We're doing pretty good, Rufus. We're doing real well. What's your thoughts? You get a chance to hear some of the show today?
Nah, to be honest, I just called in. I had called and the phone hung up. I thought y'all didn't want to speak to me no more since I'm voting for Hillary.
Oh, yeah. Well, since you're voting for Hillary, I mean, that in itself already puts you on the outside looking in. But it's okay. But you know what, Rufus? We were actually talking about why so many Americans are angry now. I don't know if there's something you might want to comment on that subject, but are you an angry individual right now based on some of the things that we see taking place in the country, whether it be economically, immigration-wise, government, or just even our place in the political arena these days? I mean, globally.
No, I can't say I'm angry. I'm an older gentleman, so I'm retired.
You retired?
I think, yes, sir.
Okay.
I think yes, sir. Go ahead.
No, I would just say, those were some of the things that we were talking about. I mean, you've been watching some of the telecasts lately, some of the shows on Donald Trump and some of the other candidates, and how people have just started to outright, disrupt some of the Republican, like the Super Tuesdays, Saturdays, and some of the gatherings. Have you been seeing any of those lately?
Yes, sir. I've been watching a lot of Trump.
Why you think people so upset?
Well, like I told you, I think this country from the start is a racial-driven country.
You think so?
And I think when you have the haves and you have the have-nots. And unfortunately, under the Barack administration, there's been a lot of changes from a job standpoint, where you had a lot more, I would say, middle-class people that became unemployed, if you know what I mean.
I mean, how are people?
I put it to you like this: the people that don't look like me became more under the gun.
Well, what do you mean? What do you mean? Remember, wait a minute. You did mention racial. Now you want to step back. What do you mean, people that look like you? How do you look, and what do they look like?
No, I say don't look like me. I say white folks.
Oh! Now you
upper middle class. I had to take a step back.
Oh, so the white folks are angry now?
Yeah, much more.
Why?
Because you're touching their money.
Oh, you're touching their money right now. I mean, so what were we doing before?
You had a majority. You had a have-nots. If you want to say the Republicans were in the house.
So you think right now that a lot of Americans, or a lot of angry Americans, which are, you say, the white folk, are upset because we are now getting into their pockets?
Not getting into what now?
We're now getting into their pockets.
Totally correct. That means moving in on their jobs.
Oh yeah.
It's a lot more liberal now. There's a lot more quote unquote things that came under the rock, where people might get more, just like people getting granted more. I'm trying to find the correct words. More rights, such as the gay marriages. Oh, so
what does that? What does that have to do with white people? I mean, how is that infringing on white people? Why is that making them upset? I would think a majority of those may be who in that caste system may fall under Caucasians. But here's my question to you. I mean, and you say you're retired. Has your retirement been affected? By the political landscape, or by what's going on in America right now?
It's been affected a little bit. I mean, Social Security, some other stuff I got in retirement's been affected, but I'm not going to put that all on the Barack administration.
Okay, you're not going to put it on Barack. Okay, well, where would you put it?
You talking about a whole nother show, son. You talking about going back some years now. Under the Bush administration, if you want to be reelected.
Okay,
you
well,
go all the way back to the Reagan administration if you want to be reelected.
okay, well, we can go back to Reagan, but we won't do it tonight. But you know what? Hey,
I think one of the best presidents in the and me being a minority, and yes, I'm an African American. Is young lady out with you tonight?
Yes, my co-host is here tonight. Yes, she is.
Yeah, you quiet tonight. How you doing, young lady?
I said hi. I've been talking to you. You just didn't hear me. I'm wonderful. How are you?
Oh, okay. Well, I think one of the best presidents since I've been in this face of earth is Jimmy Carter.
Oh, wow. Okay, well, that's almost a show closer right there.
A lot of quote-unquote Caucasians disagree with me.
Okay.
And since I know where you're going, I call you the Black Republican. I know you would disagree.
Well, let me ask you something, Rufus. I mean, and I'm not gonna hold you much longer. I really appreciate you calling in. But I mean, as we move forward, what do you see for America in the next election? You see us being more in a position to achieve better, or to be pretty much stagnant and stay where we are?
Well, me personally, I'm 68 years old. I hope the country can improve better for the working class people.
Okay. Well, and you know, like you said, at 68 years old, I'll probably give you another 20 more years. You probably won't carry anywhere after 20 years, right?
Well, like I say, you judging my age now. That's a Republican talk.
Well, you know, we always got to catch our.
You judging my age. You already put me in the ground. You got another 20 years. How old you, son?
Hey, we always got to count them numbers. You know how that affects what we do, right?
Nah, that was kind of a Republican statement. What's your age?
Oh, I'm still pretty young, so you know, I would just count your Social Security money. That's all.
Okay, well, see, ain't nothing promised to you. You'll be gone the next day.
Well, we hope we all gonna be right here for a long time, and I hope you'll be right here for a long time.
Trust me, listening to your show, I surely will, because I enjoy it. I get the other side. I can understand something. Like, I'm going to buy this USA Today. I haven't bought my USA Today. I read, and listen to you. I kind of understand where you coming from a little bit better.
Well, I appreciate it. But look, thank you for calling us, Ruth, and we'll listen out for you on next week's show, all right? You have a great night.
Okay, can I say my final words?
What's that? Go Hillary?
Go Hillary!
Oh, that was Rufus calling us. You know, but I mean, and of course, he hadn't heard a lot about this, what we were talking about tonight. But you know, I mean, some of his comments were a little bit off base. But I mean, it's okay. You know, as I mentioned, you know, talking about, we talked a little bit about the economy and the immigration. But as we mentioned, he mentioned Hillary and some of the presidents that we've had in the past. I think a government is also a reason why a lot of people are feeling a certain amount of anger, you know, in this country as well. I mean, we've had, of course, the Democrats, we've had the Republicans. We go back and forth, but on top of that, government has gotten so large now, they're in pretty much everything, that no matter which way you turn, left or right, we seem to be under the thumb of the government no matter what we do. You know, you had the situation, of course, with President Barack being in office, you know, changing the health care, changing other things that, you know, affect people, you know, a great deal. And I think that in itself angers people because, you know, nothing ever gets done. Nothing ever gets done in government. And in that aspect, you know, it continues to, like I said, fuel the fire. And now we have these other particular parties, other people trying to join the party or move the party ahead as far as the Republicans and the Democrats. But, you know, do they have a right to be angry with government, you know, at this time? I
mean, yeah, because, excuse me, just for the reasons, I'm choking, but I don't want to take a squeak of my water.
Okay, please don't.
But yeah, no, they totally do, and I think it has become, it's almost like the crying wolf thing, like we've heard over and over again, you know, false promises, right. I'll say. And you're looking and you're waiting and you're hoping for this change that, you know, government or politicians or whoever have said that they're going to make, and you just don't see it. And so there's, you know, a lack of trust.
Right.
You know, I don't know anybody that trusts a politician or even government, you know, for any, you know, period of time, just because, you know,
but they've always
go
made
by
promises.
history.
They've always made promises. What president hasn't made promises that we didn't see certain things come to pass or certain things that were not enacted? There's nothing new.
Yeah, no, it's nothing new. But I'm saying like I think everyone has become weary of it. Like before, because then someone else will come in and it's like, oh, okay, well, it's going to be different, and this is what they say, and okay, and then you do this, and then you're behind them, and then you're like, okay. And then maybe things will get a little better, and you might see a little something. Then you're like, okay, yeah. And then, but I'm just saying, it just goes on and on and on. But just like you said, this past time, it has just been, with.
Let me ask you this: do you think that's why people are actually have such a much more welcoming spirit for Donald Trump and Bernie Sanders?
Yeah,
because
I think they want something different. I think they
new.
want something that is not the establishment.
But do they want something so bad that they're willing to just?
I don't think that they're looking at it. See, here's the thing. We see it as bad because we look at what they're saying and we're like, that is totally against like what America is about. Yeah, you know what I'm saying? What we stand for. But like I said, and what people need to understand is, Donald Trump didn't just get up and start saying stuff and everybody's like, oh yeah, Donald Trump is not convincing anyone of anything. He is speaking to what people already feel, right? So in that sense, so we look at it like, oh, that's crazy. Right. But when they hear him, they're like, that's what we've been saying all along. We need to vote for him, and so that's what it is. And so now they have their candidate. Now they have their candidate who is, between him and Sanders, who, right. They are outside, both of them outside of the establishment. They want to, Bernie Sanders wants to tax the, top, right. Percent or whatever, just, have free health care and, all this, like totally outside, totally different than what we have seen thus far. You like my hand moves?
Yeah, I see. Yeah, you know a lot of hand moves here. She's practicing for her ballet.
Or my cheerleading, right. But anyway, no, that's what it is. And I really, and I emphasize that because that's what I want people to know, that like, they're like, people are so crazy. I cannot believe why they're supporting them. That person already thought that way. They already felt that way. Get rid. Look, let's build a wall. Look, all Mexicans are rapists.
Right.
He right. That's what I've been saying. And that's what. So that's what those people are behind him are saying. I told y'all we needed a wall. Thank you, Trump. Put the wall up. So it's that type thing, just like you are when people say, and you agree with them, you've already felt, and you like, finally somebody
gonna put up a wall.
Yeah, it's talking about what I felt.
Somebody gonna kick everybody out.
Yeah. So and that's what it is. So that's why he's so popular. But it I mean, and we could have a whole nother conversation about that, but it really is speaking to people who really support like Donald and what he's saying. But that's what it is, outside of the establishment. So yes, that is why he's so popular.
Did you see the other day when the guy ran up on the stage and
I heard about it. I didn't see it.
And
I heard about it.
Donald's talking about building that wall, but when that guy ran up on that stage, he wished he was a wall in front of him. He was like jittery and kind of looking, and the Secret Service jumped in front of him. Yeah, he said, "I'm so glad that they were here because I think it's better to let them handle it than me." He said, "But I was ready."
Was it a white? Like, what was the?
Was it a white guy? Yes, yes, it was.
Okay, so and
he had parents. His parents are here in Georgia.
Your people,
right? Oh, gosh. Yeah. Why does it? Every time somebody do something bad, it's connected to Georgia.
It's not.
Yes,
always.
It is. I mean,
it's not always.
There are certain things you can just watch. I mean, and you're gonna find out the person either lived here in Georgia, came through Georgia.
Or grandma was here.
Right. Like, they shopped in the mall here in Georgia. They had some kind of connection to Georgia. I mean, what is it that people come here and all of a sudden they want to do bad stuff? I mean, what is that all about? Maybe the people from Paris might have been here too. You never know.
Well, you were just talking about everything that they were doing with the airport, so it is an international hub, so people are in and out, and and it yeah, so who knows?
But I was looking at something earlier, and it said 6 out of every 10 people feel as though our government is just too big, too large.
Do you think it's too big?
I think it's too big. Yeah, I mean, you tell me what area that the government does not have its hands in. Of course, it's in the schools trying to tell us how to educate the kids. It's in healthcare. It's in our medicines. I mean, it's in everything. Government is not supposed to be trying to police the people. is supposed to just make sure that those things that the Constitution that were enacted by our forefathers were maintained. But they have their hands in everything that we do.
And then I think what they do have their hands in, people look at it as a failing system, like they failed, like they haven't made it better,
Right,
like you've
right.
made it worse, and who says that then we can't do better? Like,
I mean, you hear people saying all the time, we don't need the IRS. We don't need the IRS.
I'm sorry, I've never heard anyone say that. No, I've never heard anyone say
You
that.
ever heard that?
No one has ever said that to me.
Well, you haven't heard that
I've
before?
never heard. I've never.
I mean,
even
that's
read
that's
that.
one Bernie Sanders is talking about.
I
doing
know
away with
people
the IRS.
don't want it. They're
No,
like,
but Bernie
later
Sanders
for
is talking
Texas.
about. I mean, Bernie
I've
Sanders
ne-
is
I
talking
did-
about doing away with the IRS. I mean, think about it. If you just give everybody a flat tax and let them pay it, that's a wrap.
So how do you give everybody a flat tax? It's
You
just by your income, and then here goes
Right.
your
Here's
flat
a
tax.
percentage, right? And your income band.
between this and this
Yeah,
and this is
and
what
that's
you
it.
pay.
And what that
But
does.
isn't that kind of what we do?
No.
Like you give them your income, and then
Yeah, we do
and then
that.
you put in like you mean like don't take money out of your check?
Uh,
Don't take taxes out of your check,
no,
like income tax.
yeah. Certain ones you don't. You just give everybody a certain straight tax, not a FICA tax, not this tax, not that tax, and you tell them where they
So
pay that
that
one
would be
particular
good.
tax.
Okay.
But at the same time, you don't have all those tax loopholes as well.
Bookkeeping wise, it seems like it
Right.
would be more.
But you don't have all those tax loopholes as well. And therefore, we keep more money in the country. But if we do that, then that helps government to. It's just kind of like this. If you know how much money you have every week, the right people now. Let me make sure I make this plain. If you know how much money you have every week, you're only going to spend that money for that week.
if you know how
Right.
to.
It's opposed to, Shaquilla and Mickey, who are going to get $500 a week, but they're going to spend $900 next
everybody's-
week.
But that's like just simple budgeting.
It is simple budgeting, but that's the problem we have. We're not budgeting. So therefore, most Americans who are in debt, we continue to stay in debt. So if you create this tax,
But that's not a government issue. That's a personal, like you don't know how to manage your money.
well,
issue.
it's not. It's not just a personal issue. It's a government issue due to the fact that we have continued to move forward with this debt culture. That's all we do. The government,
But
does
that
the same
doesn't come
thing.
from-
You
No,
know
hold
what?
on.
We're going. This. I tell you what, this is going right now, and it's not going to be real. It's not going to be real good. So we're going to be right back with the absolute truth. Back here on the absolute truth. Again, I knew it was going to get kind of heated, so we had to go to a
stop.
break.
Yeah, he had to go on the break and be like, "What do you mean?"
Yeah, I mean, I'm like,
I
wow.
had to explain it to
well,
him.
I'm saying this as a, like you said, personal as far as government, that type of thing. It's just like, for instance, like a house that you buy, right?
Yes.
First and foremost, you go to the bank for a loan, right?
Yes.
The bank does not have that money for
That's
your loan.
true, yeah.
So you are basically borrowing paper, and you're paying the bank back money that they never could give you. So you're already in debt with something that that they don't have and you never had. So we continue to perpetuate and push this envelope down the road, and that's what I'm saying. It's a personal issue, but it's a government issue as well.
Okay, and I agree with that.
Right, and that's what I'm saying. So
That's what I'm
therefore,
saying.
if we, oh wow, that's what we're saying.
That's
so if
what
we
we're
go
saying.
with a
We
straight,
agree.
right? If we go with a straight tax, it curtails some of those things. Then there won't be the opportunity for government and other private parties to try and take that environment and do more with it than they should, and put the American people and the country continuously in debt like we continue to do. So that's just my point on my piece on the matter.
Okay.
Okay, and that's the absolute truth about that.
Yes, I was just saying,
What?
don't
Don't blame the government for your debt?
People basically, That's basically what I was saying. I was like, just because you can't say, oh, well, the government's in debt, I'm going to be in debt
No,
too.
but remember when they were doing the housing?
But I agree with exactly what you
Right.
just said, so we don't need to rehash.
Okay, because I was about to say,
I agree with exactly what you just said, and you agree with me too, whether you want to believe it or not.
We was getting ready to do some UFC up in here. Okay.
So, were there some other areas? So, I know that we have touched on economy,
Well, the other thing we talked about the economy, immigration,
immigration, and
government.
government.
But one thing I was sharing also is that
Mm-hmm.
our position as a political power. I mean,
A
not political,
world
global
power.
power. We don't.
We are not any longer.
We don't have that any longer, and that in itself makes a lot of Americans angry as well. We don't have the position that we normally would carry throughout the world as a peacekeeper, an overseer. We're now considered more of an occupier than anything else, and we no longer have our status in the world like we used to, and a lot of that has come upon certain administrations. We must say, a lot of that has come upon the fact that we have negotiated certain things throughout the world that we never would have done in the past, and some of that comes from the fact that a lot of countries just don't trust us anymore.
Yeah, well, join the club. So, I mean, we were just talking about that. Yeah, no, I totally agree, and it makes me think about our candidates that are running for president because and I feel like a lot of Americans. I mean, we are becoming more and more global. And I feel like a lot of Americans aren't really taking that into consideration. And I mean, and it's only human nature that you only really care about or you only think about those things that affect you. But we are becoming more and more global and we have these issues that we need to deal with. So I look at our candidates and so that's a part of it. I cannot see a Donald Trump
Being the president?
doing anything international. Even though I know he's like out and about and whatever, but really trying to be, because he's not diplomatic.
But you see,
He's like a bully to me. But like you said, I haven't been closed door. I know he's been in many meetings and close quarters.
But on
with
top
all
of that,
kinds
think about the other heads of state now, who some of them are actually boycotting him from their countries. So that should tell you something already.
I did hear that. Yeah.
I mean, they are. Some of them already do not want him in the country. So I mean, personally, for me, as the chief commander, as far as our military is concerned, how do I think he would do? How do I feel with him having his hand on the button?
Oh no, I don't want his hand on the button.
Well, if he got his hand on the button, I want somebody that's holding the other hand.
Yeah, exactly. His hand is on the button. We are
we're
like,
in the
I
World
don't
War
like
III.
that group of people.
Bomb them.
Yes, exactly.
Well, that's what they say about the Muslims.
Yeah,
if
the
they commit a
Muslims.
crime, we say, but then he say destroy or kill the families
Yeah, he wants to kill the families.
for those who are connected to anyone who may be a terrorist.
Yeah. And I mean, that might sound good in theory, but
I think
you
again,
really
like,
can't do that.
Right, but like you said, that's theory. I doubt very seriously if he's thinking about killing everybody. I mean, what happens then if my cousin happens to be Muslim, who's married to the Muslim other brother who committed this heinous
And
act?
this is the thing. He really doesn't have absolute power. You know what I'm saying? When
it comes to
when you're in office
sure.
and making these decisions and the thing like he can send in like some orders like all he wants, But that's why we have the checks and balances.
Well, we do, but he does have executive powers, though.
Well, now he does have executive powers, and that's what I was going to say because which I totally really didn't. I might have known about it like in school when I was studying about all this, but had completely forgotten about it until Obama has had to do.
He's done his thing several times.
Yes, a couple of times, and I'm like, oh, really? You can just like ignore everybody and do what you want to do? I'm like, well, that is might not be a good thing.
There was a time we, as a country and as Americans, we could go anywhere in the world and nobody would even bother you. I mean, except for certain places that we knew didn't like us,
Right.
Like Iran.
Yeah.
Russia
back in the day.
Russia way back in the day.
Cold War
Right. Certain places like that. But we could go anywhere and no one would bother us. They knew that the hammer was going to be dropped on you if you did something to an American. I mean, we could be in a country and one American could get killed, and they would pull out the whole military for that one person. Now.
We don't negotiate with
Right.
terrorists. You know, we don't want to.
Well, we'll exchange 20 people, for that one American who is almost, been over there for like 30 years in prison.
Exactly.
So we just don't have the respect that we've had in the past.
But
in the world.
in fairness, in some fairness, our enemies are different now. Like it really is terrorist groups who are really ruthless and like for real gangsters.
But if they're that way, then how do you think we should be? Now that, like you said, you have ISIS, you have all of these other groups. I mean, how should we respond to that?
Yeah, well, I mean, I definitely think, and this is the issue, and this actually is the question. Thank you for answering, and I don't have the
you're more
answer,
than welcome.
but the thing is this: it's a whole new world for them too, in this sense, because even though they knew about like ISIS and stuff before, ISIS didn't just like when the beheadings just started.
Right.
That wasn't when everybody knew about ISIS.
Right.
Like we knew. I don't want to be sharing this, but we knew about ISIS a couple of years before that, and it was really a battle between which extremist like which group was more of an extreme, and they were really just going like against each other
right.
from like Al Qaeda, ISIS. They were just kind of doing that amongst themselves, and then it grew. But during that time, like how they say, desperate times calls for desperate measures.
Right.
When the enemy changes, the battle plan needs to change.
Right.
You understand what I'm saying?
Exactly.
So I think that maybe it should not have caught them off guard, but maybe they were like, oh my gosh, like we real.
We actually thought that they would not continue to mount an attack against us because
they don't care about us.
Right.
They don't care about anybody.
Right, and they figure like, hey, you know what? We're America. Nobody's going to bother us, and that's what I mean. We no longer drive the fear that we once did among different groups outside of this country. I think that depending on whomever gets into office, they're going to have to show a strong front toward these terrorist organizations, and rather than being reactive, we're going to have to be proactive in marching into some of these groups and just really eradicating them.
It reminds me of The Walking Dead last night.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Well, there was some terrorists on there?
It wasn't. Well, we are in the zombie apocalypse.
Was it ISIS on there?
But it was something like that.
Okay.
But it has changed how Rick's group, they were in Alexandria where they're in this safe little place. And then, so previously, the wolves. I know y'all are like, what is she talking about?
Like
but
me too. You're not by yourself. The wolves, zombies.
That's what like each group has a name of people that have found each other and they're in groups.
So one of them is the wolves.
So you have Rick's group. That's the main group. Like that's who we started out
RITZ?
with. Rick.
Oh, Rick's group. Okay, Rick.
His name is Rick.
Okay, Rick's group.
Yeah, so it's Rick's group.
Okay.
So that's the one that's like, go Rick. Anyway, but the point is, they would, the groups would find them and would attack them.
Okay.
And so then they were always like on the defense. But in the past couple of episodes, they found out that there was another group out there. The group, they're called the Saviors. That's the name of that group. But
The Wolves, the Saviors, and
I know, right? It's such a great show. But anyway, the point is, they were like, we know about this group, right? We know what they're capable of, right? Now, we need to go and we need to destroy them before they come and destroy us. We know where they are. We know what they're doing. And we just need to go and kill them. So it reminded me of that because like you said, we need to be proactive to switch back out of The Walking Dead. We need to be proactive because we know. Come on.
The Walking Dead might happen.
That's a great analogy.
Yes.
This is where entertainment actually
Meets ISIS.
helps.
Right.
It really helps
Wow.
you with reality. And
here's my question on the Walking Dead. Why I thought all of them supposed to be against the dead people, the Walking Dead. Why are they against each other?
Okay, they're against each other because it's just about survival.
Okay.
And so they don't have like food or supply, like medical supplies and things like that. So you're trying to go find these other groups, get rid of them so you can get their supplies or this, that, and another. Yeah, so you're just trying to survive.
Right.
And so this has been on the show like the fine line, like in the beginning, like Rick's group, like they only would kill like zombies. I'm sorry, walkers. They would only kill walkers. You can't call them zombies.
Walkers.
They're walkers.
Rick's group. The wolves.
Yeah, no. So the walkers, which are the zombies, like you only did that, like, and they asked like, how many people have you killed? Because that is really the fine line of where you have kind of crossed
Cross the line
over. Yeah.
To being what?
To being, kind of.
Just you have no morals or anything else?
Yeah, like you've just kind of crossed the line. Like before, it was just like we're trying to survive because these things are like coming after us. But then if you go and kill another human, we should all be kind of on the same team, right? Like, because that's why you asked me that question, because you're like, why are we now killing humans?
Right.
But it's because now there was one group, and I can't remember this name, but they were welcoming in. They had this nice area. They were welcoming people, and they were like, come on in.
Is that the one that was
telling
them to come into the church?
It wasn't a church.
Oh, okay.
No, it was another area. And literally when they came to the door, they were like grilling stuff. And they were like, wow. And they were like, y'all want to eat and this, that, and another. And here goes rooms for you to stay and, showers and do all this. But come to find out, they were just, they were like cannibals. Like they would bring them in, make them like fatten them up and then kill them, and that's what they were like barbecuing.
See, this really, if you really want to know what's going on globally, watch The Walking Dead. If you want to know why people are angry, watch The Walking Dead. If you want to know why people don't have jobs, watch The Walking Dead.
Well,
The Walking Dead will tell you everything.
We do feel like we're in the zombie apocalypse. But
it will tell you everything that's going on in this world.
Did you want to talk about it? We only have a couple of
Okay,
minutes.
we can talk about it. We can talk about it.
I don't know. We could keep with this topic because I still have more to say.
We'll pick up on that. But you know what? Remember, we did add a segment to the show about movies. And I did see a movie not long ago, which was the, what was the movie I saw?
London Has Fallen.
London Has Fallen.
Yeah, which
Fallen Down.
I saw too.
It was a good movie. Come on. But at the end of the day, really, this movie's been done like 10,000 times already in 2015. London Has Fallen. The movie with Jamie Foxx in it as well. What was that?
White House Down.
White House Down. Before that one, there was another movie.
Well, Olympus Has Fallen. London Has Fallen is the
White House Down. Like White House, London, and Olympus. All these White Houses falling down. That's at the end of the day. The movie had somewhat of a nice little appeal because it was action packed, but it was the same thing over and over again. And I'm just like, how many more times can you do this kind of movie? This
is what I say. If you just want mindless, sometimes you just want to go to the movie. You just want to see some, action adventure, some things blowing up. Mindless. You don't have to think about it. You don't have to figure out a plot. Like that's what that movie is. So it wasn't anything that's gonna.
Don't go to that movie, right? If you're looking for an Oscar, and then
just go for it. Like, hey, we just want
You don't have anything else to do, and you want to go watch a movie. That's all that movie was, and don't eat the popcorn. Yeah. Well, what movie did you?
So the movie that I saw, thank you for leaving me no time. But the movie I saw, it's called A Miracle from Heaven. It's with Jennifer Gardner. It's actually a true story about a family in Texas, a husband, a wife, and the 3 kids. And one of the kids, she was ill. She has this rare intestinal disease. And so it takes you through her story. And this isn't giving anything away. She falls down a tree, hits her head, and she's cured. But it's just, it's definitely, it's like a Christian movie. So it definitely has this, really good theme. I thought it was, really good. Because I know what you thought of War Room, so I can't tell you what I think you're going to say about this, but for the masses, I think you'll really enjoy it. Now, if you are not, this was I was going to say, I'm not that emotional, if you can tell.
Right, unless it's The Walking Dead.
I'm not even emotional.
She cries
I did cry one night. I did cry one night when I thought
Glenn had died.
Well, I thought Glenn had died, and it was terrible. But that's a whole nother story. But that was the only time out of all 7 seasons. That's the only time I almost shed a tear. But on this one, so I'm not that emotional, but it's like kids, and she was sick. That's really kind of heart-wrenching. You don't want to see anyone sick, especially if it's a child. But I was getting a little like
teary-eyed,
sniffly, and like a little something. So it's funny. I told my sister, like, she's totally like, she cried the entire time during during War Room. Like, she was like just crying, and like my sister, she cries at everything. And I told her, when you go see this, just hang it up. Just
does she cry on The Walking Dead?
She doesn't watch The Walking Dead.
Okay, she probably cry on that too. She probably cry on Sanford and Son.
Stop it. So go see A Miracle from Heaven, and it's family friendly. Like you can take the whole family, but it's really good. And I think it's not out yet. I went to see a preview, so I think it might be coming out this Friday.
Okay.
Maybe this Friday. So,
Definitely go take a look at that. You know, even as we're talking about movies, I mean, they're predicting this year to be the greatest time for movies. I mean, because you have the Civil War that's coming out. You have also a couple other movies that are coming out. So, you know, we're going to talk. Maybe one day we'll do a show just on movies. The whole show.
We'll
but I know the number one show will be The Walking Dead. But you know what? We want to say thank you all so much for joining us tonight. You know, it's been a blast as always.
This has been fun, yeah.
Yeah, well, tell our viewers a few things and let's let them go for the night.
Well, then I did already. Yeah, so make sure you don't go see London Has Fallen. Go see A Miracle from Heaven. And we had a blast. So join us again next week. We're going to have another fun-filled, jam-packed, controversial topic.
That's right, on The Absolute Truth. Have a great night.
Good night.
Good night.